just when I thought I was out, and they pull me back in. This is a show about jewelry, why we wear it, why it matters, how it's made, and what it means. I'm Alex D, and I turn cannabis into gold. I make mind-blowing jewelry in gold, silver, and platinum from cannabis plants here in Canada for stage, screen, for people who want to rock crazy jewelry. I'm the Cannabis Goldsmith.
We're the Cannabis Goldsmiths.
25% tariff on art. On everything. Oil, gas, trees, Canadian beverages, everything. Everything going into the United States is going to have a 25% tariff slapped on top of it in order to sell into the United States from a foreign country like us, Canada. What that means is that if I sell a product, say if I sell a ring to an American, I sell it for $1,000. As soon as it crosses the border, the Trump tax goes on, and it's an extra $250 put on top of that. So the price is now in the United States $1,250, and $250 goes to Donald, and the customer has to pay it. So that's the story behind tariffs. And like, you would think that I'm not paying it, so it doesn't matter that much. But what happens is that our products and any other product coming from outside the United States going into the United States from Canada is 25% more expensive. Now, who's going to buy that? If something that exists in the shop is 25% less expensive, people will end up buying that after a while because it's less expensive. So that's the problem here. Now with us as a super high-end custom jeweler, the price point, I guess, won't matter that much. The people will just have to pay 25% more, and it will go to Donald because nobody makes products like we do here in Canada or anywhere in the world. And no one in the States makes products like we do. Now, they might after the tariffs go into place because it's going to be harder and harder to find products in the United States to buy coming from other countries because people would just say, no, we're not going to bother with that anymore. It's just, why? It's just too much grief to try and sell into the United States. Sure, there's a market there, but there's no way to tell. Like today, it might be 25% extra the Americans are paying. For the next day, it might be 50 or 100 or whatever. You have an absolute lunatic coming into power in the United States in January, a total nut bar, and there's no way to run businesses based on edicts from a lunatic, right? In another country. It's just impossible. It's impossible. So what are we going to do about all that? Jesus, everyone is trying to figure it out. I've been running AI simulations about to see what a 25% tariff on everything would look like to our country here in Canada, what it would do to the country. And believe me, when I tell you that after 2-3 days of running AI what-if scenarios, everyone is bad. There's not one good one. For either of our countries, there's not one upside. Not one. Well, maybe there is one. The one upside is that we'll be talking about this fucking orange motherfucker every moment of the day for 4 years. That's his upside. But the rest of us have no upside. There's no upside. We just have to sit here and deal. So how are we going to deal? I'm already thinking about how I'm going to deal with a closed U.S. market because even though it's not closed, it's going to close. It's a 25% tariff on everything is closing the U.S. market to us. So Whether you're making pottery or paintings or jewelry or clothing, handmade beautiful clothing or shoes or the incredible craft and quality out of Canada. Whatever you're making here for export into the United States, now is the time to start looking to other countries. So that's what I've decided I'm going to do. I'm going to start pushing our advertising, and the small amounts of advertising I do. But I'm going to focus it more on Europe and Japan. I'm not going to focus it at all on the United States, because it's just, I can't trust what's going to happen there. I have no idea what's going to happen there. Now, there are so many podcasts out there now. Everyone in the States is trying to analyze what the hell's going on. Nobody knows what's going on. In 2 months, everything... It's just going to be crazy. It's just going to be batshit. It's already getting batshit now, and the guy isn't even in power. So here we have the potential of a closed U.S.-Canada border to trade, or like the Donald Trump sphincter put over it with a 25% tariff on everything. What happened when I first pivoted to manufacturing cannabis jewelry and accessories here in Canada, I made one product called the Magician Dabber. This was one of the first products that I designed. And it's a dab tool made of stainless steel and surgical stainless steel. Beautiful, beautiful piece of an accessory, a beautiful accessory. If you're a cannabis consumer, this is like the ultimate in dab tools, right? It's a surgical grade tool. To make it, we had to use a 9-axis Swiss lathe. We used U.S. steel, and this thing is just beautiful. You can see it on our website at tribe.ca/magician, because that's what we call it. It's magic. It's a magician. Anyway. This was steel, and when I launched this like 5 years ago, Trump decided to put in a 25% tariff on Canadian steel just overnight. So overnight, my products became 25% more expensive in the United States. Now, they're already very expensive because they're the best product. It's the best dabber in the world, so naturally, it's the most expensive dabber in the world. But now it's 25% more simply because an American politician decided that's the case. So there's no stability in business anymore. The only stability is for the orange person. He's got the whole world in his hands, and the rest of us have to live with it. So what I'm going to do is next year, this is my New Year's resolution. I'm already pivoting to Europe, and I'm going to design over the winter some small ad campaigns to test out the European market for our jewelry products. Cannabis is rolling out in Europe more slowly than in, I guess, no, the States is more slowly with marijuana legalization, with cannabis legalization. But Europe is making inroads there. So I'm going to start pushing ads into Germany and France and the UK, and maybe some smaller countries like Switzerland, in order to try and sell our products into that market, avoiding the 25% import tariff, the orange Trump fee, and so our products will be priced better there. And the quality is like European quality. It's not garbage. So it's not Chinese garbage, or it's not American. American quality has suffered over the years too. So they're going to have to get that back as the imports are being constrained coming into the country by price. The Americans are going to have to get their shit together and start making products. Well, I guess that's the whole point. They're going to have to make their own stuff now, right? So they're going to have to learn how to do that from the Chinese, I suppose, who have been making all their products for the last decade or two. Anyway, it's really confusing. For an artist who can't be bothered with any of that shit, who just wants to make art, and suddenly they realize that nobody's buying their products in the States anymore. This might be why, because they'll cost 25% more. Now, in Canada, we have a horrible situation. We have a paralyzed parliament. It's paralyzed. In my province, we have a kleptocrat as a premier. Now, if you're an American listening to that, that's like a governor of the state or whatever. We have a premier who's a kleptocrat. He's under investigation by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police for financial crimes. He does these shady land deals with foreign corporations, like no tender contracts given out. People were showing up at his wedding with his daughter's wedding with envelopes of cash to get contracts. This is who we have as a governor. So he is already a kleptocrat, a corrupt motherfucker. And this guy, when he realized that Trump was winning, he decided, let's cut a deal, a Starlink deal with Elon, and just to show Donald who we are up here in Ontario, who I am as Premier Doug Ford, doofus. So what he did was he paid 10 times as much, according to the reports in the mainstream media here. He paid 10 times as much for Starlink terminals than they're worth at the local Best Buy, in order to catch Elon's attention. So he spent $90 million of our taxpayer money, more than was necessary, to buy Starlink terminals. This was like the envelope full of cash at the wedding to catch the attention. Oh, is a contract coming up? We want it, right? This is the envelope full of cash that Doug Ford is used to receiving here in Ontario. This was his plan, I guess. But the thing is, the table stakes are not $90 million. The table stakes are billions of dollars now with the United States. And Doug Ford is way out of his league. So he's way out of his league. The corruption, he has no, like, the scale of corruption. I guess he wants to get at that trough. But, like, I don't think the orange motherfucker will give him the time of day for some Canadian, some boss hoggy type character from Ontario. Nobody in the State's going to give this guy the time of day. And our Prime Minister, Justin, is literally the most hated person in Canada now and around the world. Like, if you just watch him at the G20, walking into the G20, people just avoid him. He like cuts a swathe through the G20. Like, every world leader is like trying to get away from him. Like, they're you can see, like, if there was a drone shot of the world leaders at the G20, you would see Justin in the middle there with nobody around him. And in fact, there are many pictures like that because nobody wants to be near this fucker, right? He's just to be honest now, I get nauseous if I see a picture of him on my phone or on TV. And believe me, that's all we see here in Canada because the media has been taken over by the state. So unless you're getting your media from foreign sources, like the BBC or France 24, The Guardian, or Al Jazeera, or not American sources, but other European sources, you're not getting a real true picture of what's going on in Canada even anymore. But every time I see a picture of this guy's face, I start throwing up a little in my mouth, right? And I think a lot of Canadians feel that way about Justin now. He's the best before date was 4 years ago, maybe, or 5 years ago. It's long. The eggs are long rotten. So anyway, now he's the guy that is going to be around when the U.S. power changes hands to Donald in January. We have no prime minister here. We have the government, as I said at the beginning, is paralyzed. It's completely paralyzed. Why is it paralyzed? Well, it's paralyzed because our House of Commons It's really hard. I don't even know if I should explain it because it's just so stupid. But anyway, our House of Commons decided that there was this government project, this government plan called the Green Slush Fund, I guess they call it now, but it was some kind of environmentally green fund, they called it. And it turns out $500 million went to, didn't go to the greening of anything, but rather the greening of insider bank accounts. So Parliament voted to get these documents that the government has about this program. Because if you apply for grants or something in Canada, there's a paper trail, right? You have to go through some hoops and stuff, and you have to sign documents claiming certain things. Like if you ever apply for any kind of government program, you're asked to sign for it, right? You have to agree and sign to something. So all these documents are being requested by the opposition parties, and the House of Commons in Canada voted to approve this. So this means that the documents have to be produced by the Trudeau government and turned over to the police. Everyone in the House of Commons has agreed now. This has been voted on. It's a done deal. But Trudeau wouldn't turn over the documents. So in order for any other proceedings in the House to happen, in the House of Commons, the documents must be turned over. Now, Trudeau is not turning over the documents to the police, and so nothing is happening. Our House of Commons has been paralyzed for 2 months now. Now, in the States, things are changing rapidly, and we have no leadership here in Canada. No. This has to change fast because, look, I'm worried about a 25% increase in the cost of my products in the United States. So that's what I'm worried about. I don't care about the political life of Justin Trudeau. I want him gone. I want him out of power. I want the government working again. I want the government standing up for Canadians. Because we need a government that's going to have to stand up for Canadians, whether it's small artists and designers in little towns in Ontario or BC or Quebec, whose only market is in the United States. We need our leaders to stand up for these people, for me, for you. Not just standing up for billionaires or for telecom companies or for. We need a realignment in our own country to deal with the huge shit show that's going to happen for the next 4 years. I'm not even sure our economy will be able to survive the next 4 years of Trump. I'm really not sure. Like I say, I ran these scenarios, and they're not. I mean, ChatGPT is not the smartest knife in the drawer, but it's like it doesn't look promising. So anyway, what are we going to do about this? Well, I'm going to engage with my politicians. I'm going to get on their case constantly, and I already am about shit. Like, if there's something a politician can do for me as a taxpayer, I'm going to ask them to do it because, frankly, I'm paying their wages already, right? So they owe it to me to do that. So as our markets shut down here in going into the United States, the louder I'm going to be. The louder I'm going to be with this government or the next government in Canada. I'm going to be writing them, emailing them. I'm going to be calling them. I've met some of the people in the government coming. So I think they know how serious I am about Canada and how much I love Canada and how we need to support Canadian business and Canadian culture. That's what we need to do. Not fill the fucking bank accounts of kleptocrat premiers. That's what we need to do. Anyway, I'm riled up today. I'm like, ugh. It's pulling me back in. The politics is pulling me back in. Oh, God. As the markets close in the States, they'll open up in other places. This is what I hope. So I'm going to design some small social media campaigns to target Europe. I'm going to go after specific countries, and I'm going to evaluate what the response is, if any, to my advertising. If I get any sales in Europe as a result of it, I'll know that the advertising has some effect. So it's just that, just little tinkering a bit for next year. I'm really turned off the United States now. It's really turned me off. Maybe that will change, but this whole thing. And right now, we don't have the capacity to. Our supports here in Canada, our political supports, are not there to deal with the United States right now. So there's nothing I can do as an exporter, as an artist, except scream and yell and complain, which is what I'm doing here. I mean, one thing that's become clear to me after the afterglow of the U.S. election, is that nose ring politics is over. No, even in Canada, nose ring politics are done. They're finished. It's stupid. It's stupid. It divides us against each other. You know, it pits one Canadian against another. I think we need to be all on the same page, and we need to put Canada first and put our communities first, and that's how we're going to survive this fucking storm that's coming. Now, I haven't even talked about Europe. There's a fucking land war seems to be coming in Europe already. Some analysts are saying that World War III is here. It's just like slow walking. It's just. They're saying that all these world wars of the past, the last two started years before anyone thought they did. The boiling frog thing, right? All of a sudden, bam, the frog is cooked, and it starts, or you realize it started already. I think we're in that place now. War is good for art. That seems to be true. And design. It triggers people to make art to cope with it. Here I'm looking at, Jesus, I'm just rambling today. I'm trying, like, if I'm selling into Europe, war is coming to Europe. War is already in Europe. North Korean troops are in Europe. People forget this. This is a world war that's happening now. At least that's what I think. It's an unrecognized world war. And our nose ring politics are just not going to deal. Removing the nose ring by tearing it out is going to be somewhat painful at first, but the end results, when it heals, you'll have a stronger nose. How's that? And be able to deal with the mayhem that's coming our way. Oh, man. It's really hard to plan or do anything. The politicians in Canada are meeting today. The most senior politicians in Canada are meeting today over this 25% tariff thing. They're meeting at 5 p.m. today, but on a Zoom call. I can predict now that nothing is going to happen out of that call. We have our kleptocrat Doug Ford. He wants to sign an exclusive deal with the United States and cut Mexico out of the picture. This was his first move in this thing. And then, cutting the extra $90 million check to Elon. No, that didn't work either. Nobody in the States even knows who Doug Ford is. So that it will be a start now to start running some. If I was Doug Ford, what I would do is start running his stupid self-promotional campaigns. I'd start running them in Washington so people understand who he is. There's some free advice for you, you kleptocratic motherfucker. Yeah. Hi, I'm Doug Ford. I ripped out bike lanes So my Escalade could get to the political buildings in downtown Toronto 1 minute faster while killing, God knows how many children on bicycles with training wheels trying to not get killed on our roads. Now, this is a guy who removed the bike lanes. He's going to spend $48 million removing 3 bike lanes from Toronto. From one city in Canada, in his province, right? Like 2.5 million Ontarians here in my province don't have a family doctor because there are none. And yet this guy is like, oh God, I could go on and on about what kind of a nasty kleptocrat he is. But I won't. I'll say we have to, these guys are going to be filling their pockets no matter what. So we have to figure out a way to work around that and sell our products honestly and fairly with the least possible grief to foreign markets. I just wish somebody would step up for the small industries and businesses in my country they're going to have to deal with that after January. There may be a way to help Canadian small businesses, creative businesses, or other businesses to pivot away from the United States into other markets. And maybe our federal government, our next government, or even the provincial government here can start either giving us advice on how to do that, how to move markets away from the United States, or to help us do it, like I mentioned last week, through embassy, making a consular space available for products from a province or country. Now, that's just something they could do for free to help us. So I'm going to ask for that. I'm going to ask for space in consular offices or embassies for some of our products, and maybe curate a small collection of Canadian products in different areas to move to put in these spaces. And this way people might be able to see them. Now, online is going to be really, really important in the Trump era. Online sales is the only way to connect with people in other countries. Unless, of course, you have a real a shop in that country, right? For someone like me who doesn't, I'm going to look for alternative spaces to get my products into Europe. That's my plan. And I'm thinking Japan, but I'm not sure if Japan would work for us. I'm going to investigate the status and the legality of cannabis in Japan, see if anyone is using cannabis in Japan. I don't know anything about that, so I'm going to look into it. If people are using cannabis in Japan, or if the laws are friendlier or whatever, then I might want to put some of my jewelry pieces into Japan. But otherwise, I'm going to go for Europe. And I'm going to wait till things settle in the States. And if people want to buy our products, they can. And they can do it, but be aware that you might have to pay more for the Orange Man tax going on top of our products. There's nothing I can do about that, but there's something you can do about it by complaining to your government about that. Anyway, it's so unsettled. It's so unsettled. How can anyone do any business? I mean, even a small artist designer like me, I can imagine how these big companies, these business requires stability, and there's no stability for the next 4 years. There could be some major shifts here. If it gets bad enough, the world's default reserve currency could change because people were they just won't want to deal with the insanity in order to get access to the U.S. market. It's such a big market, and there's lots of money there to buy products, but there's a threshold where people won't go over. If it's too annoying, people would just not do it. The money goes where there's less friction, and the more and more friction this guy piles into his border area for imports, the that's it. People will just go somewhere else. And the growth will happen in other parts of the world. Now, as for us in Canada, we share the it's a massive land border with the United States. And we're very similar as people. But we're not the same. We're different. We're very different than Americans. But we look the same for the most part. Our accents are quite similar, depending. I mean, we don't have a southern accent here. But here I sound like somebody who's in upstate New York or in Vermont. I sound somewhat like that person. You wouldn't be able to tell a difference in the way we speak or the way we look, right? We're very similar. But the countries here are very different. I don't know what is going to happen. I just hope, firstly, I hope that our federal government gets in shape to deal with it. Two, I hope our provincial government, the current kleptocrat premier, I hope he leaves office, either gets arrested or gets thrown out of office in a snap election, which is unlikely. He apparently somehow he has all the votes already for the next election, to win the next election. I don't understand how, but he's projected to win the next election here in Ontario. I don't understand. But anyway, there it is. So we can pray that either he has a spiritual awakening and decides to support Ontario instead of his own bank account. No, that's unlikely to happen. So, in essence, we are on our own until things settle. And you know what? It doesn't seem like they will, at least not for another 4 years. We're going to have to, I can't even draw conclusions. I can't draw conclusions about anything. I want to draw conclusions. I want to be prepared. You've heard me, if you've subscribed to this podcast long enough to know where I'm coming from, that I want to do the best I can. I want people to enjoy our designs and our products. That's all I want. I want to showcase the beauty of Canada to the world. I want to showcase the beauty of Canadian design to the world. And if Americans want to pay an extra 25% for it, well, it's up to them. But in the meantime, I'm going to be opening other markets for our products. Anyway, that's it for me this week, the Cannabis Goldsmith. A really kind of political, again, it keeps pulling me back in. I'm still trimming the Congo plant. This is the plant I grew outside. I grew to 14 feet tall or whatever, huge thing. Tiny little buds. And God, it's almost impossible to trim. It's just impossible. It's not like a picture perfect weed plant. It's just a scraggy bush. And I've been at it for weeks now. It's just me trimming for me. I mean, I'm not trimming it for anyone, but for me. But it's like, whoa, it just goes on and on and on. But the weed is so good. I grew it from seed in February, and I took it down in November. So it had all that time out there in the sun with the squirrels and with Happy, the rabbit that lives under the woodshed, and the birds and the fresh air. It had all that time to just turn perfect, and it did. And I'm really enjoying it. So that's going to be my go-to for the whole year coming forward, I think, if I can ever get it trimmed. Jesus, it's detail work. It's worse than setting diamonds, I think. It's Anyway, that's it for me this week on the Cannabis Goldsmith. And I don't know what to do. Neither do you, I bet. So let's not do it. Let's not understand anything together. How's that? The Cannabis Goldsmith is produced by Tribe Communications, Inc. in the Thousand Islands area of Ontario, Canada. You can see what we do at tribe.ca. Send us an email, alexd@cannabisgoldsmith.com. Thanks for listening, And we'll see you next week on the Cannabis Goldsmith.